Good morning and welcome to our second series of Saturday Session. Ordinarily, I would expect Saturday Session to be things from the Bible to help us understand and to encourage us and to help us to see how the Bible works and fits together. But I wanted just to take a little mini series of 2 sessions is the plan, just to think a little bit about the Bible itself. So it's all very well going to the Bible and look in there for answers, but I thought it'd be really good just to take a little bit of time to think, well, why are we even going to the Bible? So today I thought it'd be good to think about, surely science has disproved the Bible. Why are we even looking at the Bible in the first place? So that's the topic I'd like us to think about today. So let's start here by looking at the idea that science actually complements the Bible. So when we're looking at the Bible, science and the Bible do 2 different things. Science tells us how, but the Bible tells us why. So it's a bit like 2 pieces of a jigsaw fitting together. That's one picture there, or another picture here. If you want to walk straight and steadily, then 2 legs are going to be better than 1. So it's good to have this thought that we need both science and the Bible in order to understand things clearly and get a full picture. Something else I want to introduce and think about is the idea that science is based on faith. Now, that might sound a little strange and might surprise you. Surely science is all about facts. Well, let's look at this more carefully. Let's think about what happens if you take an academic approach, or a career, if you like, in science. So a student of science, first of all, goes off to university maybe, and after their degree is awarded, if they're successful, if they work hard and do their learning properly, they will be awarded a Bachelor of Science. They might go on and then be awarded a Master of Science. And then finally, when you've got your Master of Science, you might go on and do a research degree and be awarded become a doctor and be awarded a PhD. PhD? What's PhD all about? A Philosopher of Divinity? So what's that all about, and how's that got anything at all to do with science? Well, of course, you might just say, well, it just goes back to the days of the monasteries and so on, and the fact that everything was if you like, religion-based in the early days, but it's a lot more than that. It's a recognition of the fact that science is indeed based on faith, or as Johannes Kepler put it. Johannes Kepler was a mathematician. He's put down as a lot of these scientists are listed as being primarily mathematicians. So Johannes Kepler is known, though, for his work in astronomy and things like planetary motion and so on, which has underpinned a lot of scientific development since then. And Johannes Kepler talked about thinking God's thoughts after him. So the important thing is that science is based on assumptions that can be neither proved nor disproved. Folk don't realise that, but it's really important to understand this. So let's go through the detail of it. So if I want to make a scientific development and produce something for the scientific community, the first thing I do is I look at the data and see what's going on and try and understand it and come up with a hypothesis about how things might be working. On the basis of my hypothesis, I then say, well, if that's true, then I should be able to devise this experiment here that will confirm that thinking, and I predict that it will give this outcome. I try it, and if it works, then I'm looking to move beyond my hypothesis so that it becomes an accepted theory. But I need it to be accepted by the scientific community, and we have this concept repeatability. I need to be able to say to folk, if you repeat this experiment yourself in your situation, so what I've done today, you do that tomorrow, you'll get the same result. And there is a fair degree of faith in that, on the basis of saying that I'm looking at scientific principle as saying that if something happens today in this situation, if you repeat it tomorrow in your situation, you'll get the same answer. There are lots of reasons why that needn't necessarily be true, but it's a good enough working faith to get us through to lots of modern scientific developments. But it is just a belief. You can't prove or disprove that sort of principle should be true in the universe. We can also look at the fact that leading scientists are Christians and have been Christians through the centuries. So scientists like Isaac Newton, another guy who's down as primarily a mathematician, but he's responsible for the laws of motion, for example, that have underpinned a lot of mechanics and dynamics and so on that we've used through the centuries. Even though that's been sort of replaced by the theory of relativity, thank you Einstein, but his laws still hold true in our normal world. Then there's Edward Jenner, the guy who gave us the term vaccination, and we can say, yay, thanks Edward Jenner. So because of the work you started, there's some lovely encouraging examples coming up for COVID-19 that suggest that we might have some good vaccines coming soon. Yay, brilliant. And scientists like Michael Faraday, who did a lot of work in, amongst other things like electricity. So we can say thank you that we've been able to build on that and have these dreaded Zoom meetings and YouTube videos. But actually I'm really glad of those, because without even those, then lockdown would be a nightmare. So we've got all these folk who have been Christians and leading scientists today who are Christians, and if they believe, who am I to say that faith is unscientific? So just to summarise, let's look at this, the idea that the Bible is not a scientific textbook, and actually neither is science a handbook of faith. Science does actually require faith. Don't forget that. It's not quite the objective thing that some people would like us to believe it is. Many great scientific minds have seen science and faith as fitting very well together. And importantly, you don't have to switch your brain off to believe the Bible. Now, I always like to finish these Saturday sessions with a verse, and I didn't have one for this originally, so I put this verse in as something to think about as we finish. This is a verse from Psalm 19, the longest psalm in the Bible, the longest chapter in the Bible, I think, verse 99, where the writer says, "I have more insight than all my teachers, for I meditate on your statutes." That's a verse that I've always enjoyed. From early years when I first became a Christian, enjoyed that verse because in terms of thinking, oh, I'd like to have more insight than all my teachers. But you have to be a bit careful with this. It doesn't mean to say read the Bible and throw your scientific textbooks out of the windows. What it means is, as these various scientists have done through the ages, if you read your Bible and look at what God has to say about the world we live in, and put that alongside your scientific textbooks and other things, then you will have more insight than all your teachers who only see down the narrow channels of what science has to offer and don't see more broadly than that. So anyway, hope that's been an encouragement. Next week I want to look a bit more in detail about how the Bible is actually structured, and how we can read it and how we can depend on it and see what it has to say to us. Thank you for watching. See you next week.